Hello, my darlings. Mwah. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty. This is episode 379. It has been a long ass minute. And in today's video, I am going to continue with populating my 58 or more video series playlist by reading aloud a translation from the Russian to the Arabic to the English of Hacking the Technogenic System by Vadim Zalen, who brought transferring to the universe. And we hope that Vadim translates this book to English very soon. And until he does, we will talk about it in the English from other translations with the personal efforts of my good friends Moheel, Jawad, and Teodora Salvia, who took it upon themselves to take on the task of sharing its wealth of knowledge, particularly during this time of our human history and enslavement. So I'm doing my part to share this invaluable information so that it can be integrated into knowledge and further integrated into wisdom to unslave us all, my love. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and allow me to read to you chapter 28 of Moheel Jawad's and Teodora Salvia's translation of Hacking the Technogenic System. This chapter entitled Funeral Prayer on the Body of Another. Now, in this chapter, I will shed more light on the issue of moving to a new rung of the food chain, but at the same time, there are many people who are afraid of the issue of animal protein deficiency. So does this thing cause harm to health and external appearance? Now, the main source of this fear is that almost all researchers and nutrition scientists and doctors affirm with one voice that it is impossible to live in this world without eating meat. They claim that there are necessary substances that the body cannot do without. Also, the principle of the social incubator still helps in this matter and says they all eat meat, and this means that it is necessary. When you enter any restaurant and open the menu, you will notice that any meal does contain some type of meat and it is not food in the first place, or in other words, the food is originally a type of meat. 70% of the population of India are vegetarian in their diet. However, it is not observed that they suffer from any weakness or fatigue, but opposite is true, and they are about to surpass China in terms of population. This means that there is something that contradicts this principle of meat. Now, I am not trying to persuade anyone to stop their eating habits because I do not need this. And my task is to provide only objective data. All information and also mass media in the technogenic system is put at the service of this system. Every theory that talks about natural food, they distort it. Let us now start to get the answers from a more reliable sources, namely nature and common sense, as well as from the classics, such as Arnold Ehret and Max Benner, who have disappeared from memory in a way that raises many suspicions. Let's start with the protein itself and what is it originally? It's not pork, beef, fish, or any other meat, but a giant molecule and a long chain of amino acids, okay? And here, what should the body do in order to convert this protein into muscle tissue? Does beef steak, for example, become part of our body as soon as we eat it? Of course not. And in order for the body to digest a foreign protein molecule, is it necessary to first distribute it to amino acids and then through amino acids to form its own molecule? But proteins are everywhere. They are found in the leaves of green plants, but plants, unlike animal derivatives, contain protein with the primary elements of amino acids. That is, they contain raw building materials. It is clear that plants, especially leafy plants, contain an ideal source of proteins and the basic and essential material for protein synthesis. And we can see practical evidence of this if you put in a frying pan a piece of meat from an animal fed with synthetic compound rich in protein. The size of the piece of meat shrinks 2 to 3 times. In case of meat of an animal that feeds on natural herbs, the size of the piece of meat almost does not change. Complete animal protein with nutritional value, which is added to animal feed, does not give the animal more meat, but only gives it more fat and bloating. So regarding proteins, all the information is upside down. And the truth is that we must see that the complete nutritional value is not in animal protein, but in plants protein. And for more accuracy, it is present in the amino acids, minerals, and vitamins of which it is composed. Proteins are found in abundance in plants. In particular, natural plant nutrition builds muscle mass gradually, but naturally with high quality. But feeding by animal production is exactly the opposite and leads to rapid weight gain. And what is meant here is weight that is useless and is the same weight that vanishes in the pan. But at the same time, it leads to the joy of the producers, because this producer announces and he says to the average consumer, animal proteins are better and can be presented to the animals themselves, and then they are presented to humans for eating. The consumer easily believes what they tell him in this matter because his naive mind easily comprehends this primitive and thoughtless logic. In order to form protein, we have to eat protein, and in order to form fat, we have to eat fat. And a nursing mother must also drink milk in order to produce milk for her baby. If we rely on this logic and proceed from it, we must give meat to the bull. And this is what they are doing now, because they mix animal feed with bone meal and fish. By the same principle, we should give milk to cows or use walls to build houses, not stones or building materials. The myth that says there is something in animal derivatives that is irreplaceable for the human body. It is something that does not rise to the level of myth, but it is either ignorance or lies and a malicious purpose behind it. In nature, everything is found in plants. If science had certain data about the human body's ability to synthesize a certain thing or its inability, diseases such as cancer and diabetes would become a thing of the past. Therefore, we have to take into account that science is still in the stage of laboratory research regarding the capabilities of the human body, and therefore we cannot rely on it in this field. The only thing that we can rely on today are the laws of nature and proper thinking. And on this principle, the theory of the Swiss doctor Benner is based. Here, we will briefly mention the basic topics of this theory, and everything in it is simple and clear. After all, we all subsist on solar energy, which is the primary source of energy for us, and all the rest of the coal, oil, and gas, it is nothing but a byproduct. As for cosmic energy, we cannot currently include it in our calculations. Plants directly absorb solar energy and are the only organisms on Earth that can do so. And we will not mention here the issue of respiratory and external nutrition, as not to make the issue more complicated. Respiratory, it is the belief that a person can live without food, and the respiratorists claim that food and water both are not necessary for survival. And prana is the life energy of the Hindus, and that alone is sufficient. Okay, so we're talking breatharians here. And I do believe that we were originally breatharians, okay, before the overlords came and got us. All right, so prana, the Sanskrit word meaning life energy. We and plants receive solar energy together. In other words, solar energy comes to us through plants and animals as well. And animals come to the next rung of the food chain and also feed on plants. As for predators, they are located on a higher degree because they feed on the bodies and carcasses of herbivores. Think about that. Those who subsist on plants, they receive solar energy directly from its stores. But those who subsist on animal derivatives, they receive it through an intermediary, that is, through a second party. And if they feed these animals and birds, it as it is happening now with animal proteins. This means that the solar energy has come from a third party. So plants are actually the food of the highest quality, and they contain easily digestible plant proteins, as well as the primary amino acids from which the proteins are composed. Now, as for the meat of herbivores, it is a second-class food because these animals come second after plants in the chain of transmission of solar energy. And all the other intermediaries in this chain are low-value food sources. It is known that those who consume the meat of predators in nature are very few, because the digestion of such meat is possible in principle, but there must be a special and different structure for the body of the organism that can consume this. But man has gone further in the process of food production, and Dr. Benner has introduced a new concept to his theory, which is the concept of necrobios, which means the death of the living body first, and then the death of the already dead body. It is known that killing any living being who possesses a level of awareness that makes him aware that he is being killed, this thing cannot pass without leaving a trace on his body, and this spreads in the blood things that give meat the character of death. And this thing happens either at the physical or chemical level or at the level of energy formation. Now, as a result of this, such food, if we consider it as a source of solar energy, has a lower nutritional value than the previous one. The next stage is the killing of the already dead body, and it may seem that the matter has reached the last limit and there's nothing more, and this is normal. We do not see anything strange or unfamiliar in it, because since childhood, we have seen this process and interact with it as a normal and usual part of our daily life. But is this really normal and usual from the point of view of nature? Imagine that you have never seen roasted meat in your entire life and have no idea that it is possible or necessary, and you do it yourself. The body's already dead and you are killing it more. It's weird. Something's missing and it's not normal. So, who are we really? Are we children of nature or mutilated and savages? Okay, certainly no one has asked this question yet. Ready-made food is a third-class food source. With regard to energy, this process is the process of weakening the energy reserve and reducing its level, and the living is the living and the dead is the dead. There is no energy and strength except where there is life. The greater the potency of fire, the lower the level of food energy. In addition to the toxic substances that are formed during the food preparation process, any natural food item has an immeasurably higher value, but raw meat does not belong on the list of delicious food. Sea products alone can be an exception in this regard, because life in the sea is more natural and harmonious than life on the land. Even the meat of wild fish and other sea animals is considered edible, unlike the meat of wild animals on the land. Through the above, we can now reach the following conclusions. Number one, it is better to receive energy from primary sources and not through intermediaries. Number two, in any case, the living is always better than the dead. It is clear that what we have said is nothing new, and all that Benner has done is that he has called a spade a spade. But when we call a spade, it acquires its true meaning. So, summary for this chapter. Number one, the principle of the social incubator says that food is meat, meaning the meat of a particular being. It is the technogenic system, the media and information that are all at the service of this same system. Number two, the digestion of a foreign protein molecule requires the body to first distribute it to amino acids and then to synthesize its own molecule. Number three, plants, especially leafy plants, are the ideal source of protein and the raw material from which amino acids are composed. Four, Living plant food builds muscle mass little by little, but naturally and with high quality. Number 5, at the end of the day, we all live on solar energy. Plants receive solar energy directly. We and plants together consume solar energy. He, she who feeds on plants receives solar energy from first source. 6, plants are first-class food. Meat of herbivores is a second-class food, and ready-made food is a third-class food. Number 7, death leaves its mark on the flesh of the slain animal. But that is not all, because a number of interesting questions remain. If this is the case, why do people crave meat? Is it better for you to be at the top of the food chain or on a lower rung? Where does life force come from? Is it protein, fat, or carbohydrates? All these questions, and especially the last question, are not simple questions at all. But in order to avoid the mental burden, we will deliver the answer to the next chapter, chapter 29, which is entitled C, bemol major. It is a sign in the musical scale, a great low. Okay, my loves, that is my speech. I hope you've enjoyed my reading of chapter 28, Funeral Prayer on the Body of Another. Up next, chapter 29, called C bemol major. So please help me grow my channel by giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment in the comments box below or in private. Please share this video with your communities, friends, family members, and social media platforms you feel would benefit from this content. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, selecting the all setting so that the YouTube will let you know when I upload next. And if you find value, enjoy, or benefit from my content and videos, won't you please consider supporting my work through a donation? My PayPal link is below, or you can buy me a cup of coffee at mycoffee.com link. I thank you all so much for hanging out with me, with your participation and focused attention. I really do appreciate it. I cannot do this without you, and I do this for those of you who know that you are so much more than what the Matrix tries to only define you to be. So until next time, my dear hearts, always act from love, outside of the Matrix, from your center screen, composing a new reality, quantum jumping all your lifelines so that you can be the love that you are. Share your love, create, make art, make music, make love, and you can all help me repopulate the true quantum field, creation field universe as we exit this Matrix system reality. Here's to your love, truth, and beauty, my divine waking gods and goddesses. Mwah, mwah.